The best way that you can improve your rhythm guitar skills is to stop playing full chord shapes and play some nice small triads. That's the way to do it. So what do I mean by full chord shapes? Now, this is a full chord shape. This is a full chord shape. Anytime you're playing all 6 strings, or I like to say at least 4 strings. If you're playing a chord, even like a D chord that takes 4 strings, that is a full chord shape. So let me put you in a little hypothetical situation here. You and I are in a band together, and maybe I'm taking the lead vocal, so I'm playing some open chords, and I'm doing G, D, and C. Just like this here, and I'm just playing the open chords. Now, if you want to add a guitar part to this, you better not play the same chords that I'm playing right here. That will not work at all. That'll actually clash. There's nothing worse than when 2 guitar players are competing for the same chord and trying to sync up. Don't try to do it. It never works. Instead, play something like this. G, D, C, or G, D, C. And there's even another one. I could go G, D, and C down here. Now, that's gonna sound way, way better. If you do those small chords while somebody else is doing the full chords, together, you're gonna fit together like a guitar orchestra. And that is how you play with a band. You don't wanna be competing for the same chord. So check it out. Let me give you a little example here. I'm going to show you how this sounds when one guitar is playing the open chords while another guitar harmonizes with these high triads. Check it out. Doesn't that sound fantastic? That's how 2 guitars are supposed to work together. And by the way, if you replace the one guitar with another chording instrument, like a piano or something like that, the same thing goes for you. You want to be playing these triad shapes. They're always going to blend with the band beautifully. Now, there are so many ways to approach triads on this instrument. In fact, you have triads all over the place. Now, in today's lesson, I want to be focusing on one type, the major triad on the D, G, and B strings. So to start off, we're going to learn 3 shapes, and then we're going to start moving them around. So here's the 3 shapes that you have to memorize. Here's the very first one here. I've got G major triad, and my root right now is on the D string. So 5 on the D, 4 on the G, 3 on the B. That is our G major triad. And to get this really in your head, you really have to memorize not only the shape, but where the root note is with that shape. So 3rd finger is on the root right now. That note is a G. That makes this a G triad shape. These are all going to be movable chord shapes, by the way. So if this is a G triad, if I move it up 1, this is now a G sharp because my 1st finger's on G sharp. This is now an A sharp, B. This is a movable chord shape. So that's the very first one, root on the D string right there. So let's go to the next G chord here. It's going to have the root on the B string, and here's what the chord shape looks like right here. So I've got 9 on the D string, I've got 7 on the G, and I've got 8 on the B string. And there is my G chord right there. And for this one, what you have to memorize is the root is on the B string right now. So 3 notes, that's the shape, and the root is on the B string. So this is a G, right? If we move it up 1, it's now a G sharp. It's now an A, it's now an A sharp, it's now a B. Whatever note your 2nd finger is on, that's gonna tell you what major triad you're playing. So far we've had a root on the D string, we've had a root on the B string. There's only one more, because we're just on D, G, and B, and that's gonna be the G right there. So if you grab a G on your G string, could use the open one, but in this situation, let's go to 12 here. And this one's simple. Just bar your 1st finger at the 12th fret of D, G, and B string. So I've got 3 strings barred with my 1st finger, and that's the final G chord shape. So play the triad scale here. Play the first one, G, then the middle one, then the high one. And and go up and down. Get those shapes and those locations in your head as soon as you can. So what we're going to do here together is we're going to use those 3 triad shapes to play G chords, C chords, and D chords. At the end of the lesson, I'm going to give you a little backing track where you can actually jam out over those 3 chords and try to find these triad positions. So there's going to be 3 positions we have to get down. So the first one is, we had our low G chord down here. Now the first thing we want to do is find a C chord and a D chord that are close by. So if this is a G, so your first step is going to be to find the nearest D around this chord shape here. That's what I mean by near. You don't want to be jumping up and finding this somewhere else here. So just look for the note D. So that's going to be actually right here. My first finger's already on it. And when I'm on the B string, that was this chord shape right here to make a major chord. So there is my D major chord shape right there. So I've got a G chord, and then right here, I've got a D chord. Now let's find the third chord, the C chord. So again, let's try to find the note C on the D, G, and B string here. There's actually one right here on the G string, right there, 5th fret. And when I'm on the G string, what was that shape? It was one finger like this right here. So there's my C chord. So I've got G, I've got D, and I've got C. So that's the first little position to get down here. G, D, and C. And we're gonna have a G, D, C chord progression by every single G triad we mapped out earlier. So there's gonna be a G, C, D here, there's gonna be a G, C, D near this one, and a G, C, D near this one. So that's the first one, G, D, and C. Now let's go to the next position on the neck, the midway position, which was off of this G chord right here. So I'm at the 8th fret of the B string, and here's the major chord shape right here. So if I want to find the nearest D note, because the next chord we're looking for was the chord D. So there's a D actually very close here, actually right where my first finger is. That's actually already playing a D note. And when I'm on the G string, the triad shape will be the bar. So there's my D chord right there. I've got G, I've got D. And now the C chord is going to be the third one. So where is my nearest C note? Well, I've got one right there at the 10th fret of the D string. And when you're on the D string, the shape is boom. That one right there. So in this position, we've got G, D, and we've got C. Right? And if we start putting those together, right? G, D, C, and then G, D, C. That's already going to give us a whole bunch of cool stuff to blend in with another guitarist doing G, D, and C. And we get the high position up here. So the high one's going to involve the highest G chord. So that was rooted off the 12th fret of the G string. So there's my high G shape right there. Now, if we want to find the nearest D chord, we're actually on a D note already, the D string, 12th fret. So when you've got the root on the D string, it's gonna be that shape right there. So there is my D chord. I've got G, I've got D. Now my third chord, C major. So we've got a C note right here, 13th fret on the B, and when I'm on the B string, the shape will be this one. So we've got G, D, and we've got C. And if we put together everything we've got so far, and you should be able to do this with a bit of practice, this is you really want to be able to do this. You want to go G, D, C. You want to see them quickly. And then we got G, D, C, and G, D, C. So practice those 3 positions. Get those down. Now what I want to try next here is I'm going to play the chords G, D, and C over and over again here. So you're going to try to find each triad position and play it along while I'm playing the open chords here. So I'll loop through. I'm going to go, just so you know exactly what the chord progression is, it's G, D, and then we hang on C for 2 patterns. One more time. G, D, C. And one more. So that's going to be the chord progression right there. So like I said, get your G, D, C ready, your G, D, C, and your G, D, C. And what I would suggest you do in the beginning is just strum each one time when I strum the chord. So I'm not gonna make this too fast. Let's go a little slower. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. D and C. So start playing those triads. So here comes G, G, and D, C. Back to G, D, C. Now I'm gonna stop saying anything. So rewind that as many times as you need to, map out those triads for yourself, and then play along to that backing track. Let's jam those chords together. If you get good at this, every band is going to want to play with you. This is the kind of stuff that people are looking for when they want a guitarist in their band. They don't want you always playing those big full shapes, especially if there's a guitar or a piano already in the band. You don't want to clash with them. You want to play these high chords. So practice it up and have some fun with it. And for sticking around till the end, I've got a little gift for you. I'm talking about this book right here. This lesson is called How to Instantly Solo in Any Key, and it'll definitely get you having fun playing solos on the guitar. Now, one of the best ways to practice scales is not actually through rhythm guitar, but through lead guitar. Weirdly enough, that'll actually lead you to become a better rhythm guitar player. So the first thing that this book is going to do is it's going to get you to recognize any key you're playing in record time. And then it's going to show you a formula so that you can solo over any key. And it's 100% yours and it's 100% free. So click here now to get your own copy or check the link in the description. Guitar is a very quickly rewarding instrument. It's lessons like these that get you soloing without having to study tons of theory.